for me to go to the library. So when I get older, I will love it, and I do now.
Yeah.
And I mean, the internet's a really good source, but the books, I think that's a lot better. To just read it instead.
I agree with you, man.
Okay. Who was second? All right.
I'm Brenna Lohendorf. I'm from District 10. So I've also been going to libraries since I was, like, before I could walk. I remember my babysitter in the summer would, like, take me to the library, and we would sign up for the summer reading programs. And I would read everything I get my hands on, just trying to get enough hours to get that snazzy eraser. So it's definitely something I'm going to want my kids to do. So libraries have to be around for me to do that. I remember doing Battle of the Books all through middle school and just absolutely loving it.
Me too.
So libraries are very important to me.
Very good.
For me, I'm a graduate student right now. I'm 25.
Okay. Excellent.
You know, you're from North Carolina. I'm sure you know there's a lot of rural areas that aren't the most diverse culturally, and that was my situation growing up.
Okay.
And for me, the library was a huge saving grace because my high school didn't have the best curriculum. We didn't have a lot of arts programs, not a lot of. I was really into drama and film, and we didn't really have a lot of that. And you know, for the library, that was a real great education for me in that. I got to talk to media specialists in there. I got to watch all these different films. I was really guided with a very mature voice towards these things. And I mean, while there are books in the library, and you know that is a huge part of it, there's so much more. To me, it's like a warehouse of knowledge as opposed to a warehouse of books. And that to me is like a real, you know, libraries was like the saving grace that really helped me become the adult I am. So I will forever support libraries, and that's pretty much my 2 cents. So.
Very good.
Awesome.
I resonate with that. My dad's from Siler City, which is out in the middle of
Oh
town.
yeah, pretty close to where I'm from. Yeah.
Okay, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's about 30 minutes from Seagrove. So
Okay, yeah. He ended up going to UNC Moorhead Scholarship, but while he was in Siler City, just the library and just the teachers right there in that school, he always talks about how that was kind of an oasis for him in
awesome.
an area of the state that didn't always resonate with his interests. Well, who's next?
Abigail.
My name's Abigail, and I live in Cary, and I'm in 6th grade. And libraries are important to me because I like all the books and the programs and the librarians. And I want my children to be able to experience the wonderful things I've experienced with libraries.
That's great, Abigail. Thank you. 6th grade is fun. I like 6th grade.
My name is Lincoln Sawyer, and I'm in the 4th grade. And I've been going to the library ever since I was little, and I always loved like we had story time where we got together in a big group and the librarian would read us a book. And I just used to love all the different kinds of books that they had in there. And now in my school, my school library, I help a lot. I help a lot in the library, like circulation desk and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great that you're helping out. I wish that I helped more when I was back home in school, and that's great. Storytelling time was always my favorite. In fact, so much that I love to tell stories now. Maybe a little bit more than my family likes. But that's great, man. Very cool. Very cool.
I'm Kaya Smith, 7th District, and I go to Triple S.
Okay.
Summer High School.
Yeah, sure.
I'm a sophomore, and I have no friends, so
Yep.
it's kind of like, hey,
I was
where's
the
my
same way.
Kaya at? Sparta lunch. Oh, she's in the library. My best friend is a media coordinator, so
Cool.
I'm just a big nerd. So.
You know what? Nerds go the farthest. When you come back to your 10-year reunion, it's the nerds who are like driving up in the Ferraris. At least I hope so, because I was totally. Well, that's great. That's excellent.
My name's Emma Chow, and I'm in 5th grade, and I really like libraries because they have a lot of different kind of books, and so you really you can't outgrow libraries because
like I went to the library as a really little kid, and I can still go to the library right now to read books for my age.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You can enjoy a library no matter how old you are.
That's true.
And that's what I really like about libraries, absolutely. When I was really little, I first got into World War II. I thought World War II was so interesting. And I would go, and I was able to enjoy history and World War II history all growing up because they're all different level books. And that was really special for me growing up. So I hear you. I think that's really great.
My name is Coy Perry. I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. I go to Louisville High School.
Okay.
In 9th grade. When I was younger, my mom took me to the library often, and I didn't really like it.
I like it.
But like as I got older, I see like why she took me, why she kept me in books, because it expands your vocabulary, it makes you smart.
Yeah. Absolutely. Man, that's very honest of you. People can admit that they probably felt the same way early on. I remember when I was really young and I would go to the library, and I was kind of the same. I didn't want to be there, just want to be outside, where you can't break things. And they had really big computers. It was like when computers had just come around. It was a long time before you guys were born. But yeah, I felt real claustrophobic. But then you love it so much more when you grow up. So that's great, man. Very good.
Do any of the parents want to say anything?
I'll share just a little bit. I was just going to tell you, Lincoln works a lot in his library on the broadcast team.
All right.
So you think a lot about, libraries and books and librarians, but they have a broadcast team, and he was just selected as technician. So he'll run the camera, and he'll do kind of similar to
That young, wow, that's really good.
They have a bulldog broadcast where they have a student that tells the weather and lunch. So there's so many aspects to their school library where it's so much more, like we've already reiterated so many times. It's so much more than just books and information, but experiences that he would never get anywhere else. And then librarians to support him. I mean, that's how he got here. He was nominated by his librarians and competed. So, just grateful for every experience.
We had the Mustang News, I think is what it was. MMS was our. It was the ESPN theme when it would come on. But man, everybody watched the news in the morning. It was like a big deal. The MMS News. So you're doing good work.
But it's really hard to see because they have old TVs and
equipment.
So it's all blurry sometimes.
So that's why they got you.
Your job is a little bit tougher because they have TVs. Maybe we can get some new TVs in there. Maybe that's what we should work on. Very cool.
Beatrice, did you want to say anything?
Sure. Okay. I'm Beatrice Guevara. I'm a librarian in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I think libraries, it's like the only one place where you feel like if you're not an American or you're an immigrant, where you feel accepted. Because when I came to the United States, I was around 15, and I didn't know a word of English. I mean, everything was new to me. And it was really hard because you're in school and you have friends, but you don't really know, how to get around everything. And so I found the sanctuary in my school library, and I would go there, and the librarian challenged me with reading, and that's how I learned English. Just basically by reading. And that's when I decided to become a librarian. And so now I get to do what she did for me with other people. I have this, I do story times, for little kids. I do them, and they're bilingual. And one of the little boys, he came to the story time, and he was so shy. He wouldn't speak a word, he didn't want to participate. And now it's been 5 months, and he's like the leader of the group, and he's only 3 years old. Wow. And so I feel like we form leaders, as young as 3 years old. And they get to become, maybe the U.S. president because of libraries. So that's why, I support them 100%.
I feel like there are so many people who need to hear that kind of story. That's exactly why these programs and these libraries are so important, is because they help people to feel comfortable and to feel like they belong in America, which is so essential to what it means to be an American.
That's right.
I think that's very wonderful. That's a very powerful story, very powerful testimony. Thank you.
Okay. Enjoy. Yeah.
All right. Well, these I just wanted to leave with you. My students during Library Month wrote essays about how libraries change lives.
Sure.
And their theme, and those are words that were common to all of their essays. And it talks about the access and the safe haven, like Beatrice. It's not just immigrants. I mean, I have a number of students who will spend their whole lunchtime in the library because they don't want to be in the cafeteria. They come to you for free reading. I mean, I have readers, which is kind of unusual when you get to the high school level, but the free reading's important to them, the internet access, because a lot of our students don't have access at home. You know, we have like 40% free and reduced lunch students. So it's not only safe haven, it's a place for access. It's a place to help them and guide them. They're interested in their careers. It's just a multi-use place, which a lot of people just think libraries, books, and that's what we're trying to get away from, that image. And it's just a wonderful place to work. And I'm a librarian. I'm going to tell you, I'm at Joanna Epsey. I'm at District 7 also.
Great.
And I'm also the president of the North Carolina School Library Media Association. So I'm kind of representing all of our school librarians.
Sure. Yeah, this is wonderful. You can see refuge and answers, and this is really great. I really enjoy this. I'll have to pass this along. But that's wonderful, and I think it's especially important as technology progresses for us to understand libraries as not just, like you guys said, not just books, but also a place where you can find all kinds of things, all kinds of media and technology. Just a center for learning, a place you can go and feel safe and learn. So I think that's wonderful.
And it's funny you mentioned that, Aaron. We, if you look at the shirt, that's kind of what we try to do to portray symbolically. You see the scroll book, the iPad, yeah. So that's kind of really where it's at.
When I was born, they were using the scrolls.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah, we should have added a stone for our generation.
I have a question. I was going to
Yes,
ask Mr. McIntyre this, but I think maybe you might know. Has he ever supported a library before?
You know, that's a really good question, and he absolutely has. You see, because it's really important that you guys know, and you may know because you guys are pretty smart, but one of the things that Mike McIntyre really appreciates, and it's one of the reasons that I came to work for him, is that North Carolina is the education state. The history of our state is right with people who were educators, who put a strong emphasis on education. In fact, if you go, did you guys go to the Capitol while you were here by any chance?
Yeah, briefly, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Going to that. Excellent. Well, maybe while you're in there, keep a sharp eye out for one of the statues of a North Carolina governor called Governor Aycock. Governor Aycock was known as the education governor. And he, a lot like Mike McIntyre, appreciated that in order to secure our state's future and our children's future, we had to invest in education. And the legend says that every day that Governor Aycock was in office, he opened a school. That's a lot of schools. And it's actually not that far off. It's actually pretty much true. He did open a lot of schools while he was on office. So it's a really good question. And it's very important to Congressman McIntyre that even as he's retiring, that he give the money and the resources necessary to make sure that libraries, books, and centers of learning are available to people like you and me. So I think that's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did any of the parents have anything? Yeah.
Actually, my husband, my name is Angela Ray. I'm Alistair's mom.
Hi.
And my husband and I, we always made a priority to take Alistair to the library and read, because he's been reading since he was 2 years old, because of the fact that we made a regular weekly story time visit to the library. With that, Alistair, started reading early. He started helping other kids read, because he would actually come to story time. He would have other kids read, and other parents would tell me that their kids wasn't wanting to read, but the fact they saw Alistair reading, because most kids, they look up to other kids and they want to read better. So I want to read like Alistair because he's reading. Because an adult can have a child read, but when they see a child reading, it really makes them get more confidence and stuff to do it. And Alistair does that, and with that, he also writes for a children's newspaper called the Circle Gazette. He does, he interviews like the mayor, kids issues and stuff, and
sure.
with just, I think with the fact that we made a priority to read at an early age, Alistair loved to read, he loved writing, and it really made a difference, you know, and I think it's going to make a difference in his life when he get older.
I think you're right. My mom always, she takes credit for anytime any of the kids do anything good, doesn't even matter what it is, she's like, it's because I read to you when you were young.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Seriously, if I did well in sports in high school, it's because I read to you. And I'm sure one day if I marry a pretty girl, it's gonna be because she well, that's great. No, I appreciate you saying that. And that's really cool. And who writes for the newspaper? That's awesome. You interviewed the mayor. Huh? Pretty cool.
And Davey. He used to live in Davie, Florida.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. That's excellent. Man. Maybe someday you'll be on CNN or something. You'll be famous. Just remember me when you're famous.
Well, we actually have a website kind of profiling all of their work, and
really?
He's on there. And he actually, you want to tell him about your accommodation as well?
Oh, the movie?
Well, yeah, the movie.
Actually, a short film called All War's End.
No way.
A short film movie.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Man, I've never done anything that cool.
And in the information packet you have, there is a CD
Yeah.
that
Oh, I saw
has
that.
the winning entries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of their testimonials.
Yeah. Yeah. And we want to show a little bit to you before we go today.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I would love that. I would love that.
So anyone else have anything else?
I was just going to say, I became a librarian after my original career in customer service.
Great.
And library gives me a chance every day to make a difference in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that youth are really important, but we do so much for the elderly. Last year, the LSTA grant that our library got was to buy iPads to take to the senior centers. And we teach the elderly people how to use the iPad so they're not terrified of the technology. And now they can FaceTime with their grandkids, or they can look up nutritional information or all kinds of stuff. But that's the majority of what I do every day, in addition to story times, is helping people get on the internet to get their job applications in, getting an email address. You can't get employed if you don't have an email address and you can't go online.
Right.
So the funding that we have for computers and librarians and libraries is so important just to the economy that I just wanted to throw that in there, because I know we do all the stuff for the kids and that's super important, but there's, like you said, it's all ages.
Absolutely.
That's right. So it's like the library is one of the last remaining civic spaces. You know, it's a gathering space for people in the community, and I think people that use libraries have a stronger sense of community too.
Yeah, Dale, in Orange County, the county manager said that the library is the only government agency that people like. Everybody can agree on that. Everybody.
I can resonate with that.
Yeah.
It's all free, so
that's right. So we don't have to qualify in any way.
Oh,
you know.
Right. Maybe it's idealistic for me to say so, but I think that's very American. I think that is a true American quality, especially for a lot of parts of our education system. But you're right, it's a civic center.
Yep.
It is a public meeting place for all ages, and that is so important.
And you know, I think that's really obvious too with our computer users, because so many of them are plugged into something all the time. And the library affords them the space to do that, but to also be with other people in a civic way. Whether it's a lecture series or a book club or a workshop on job resources, it's a gathering spot for those needs.
Absolutely.
And in fact, statistically, it's now just under 30%, but still 28% of the U.S. don't have access to broadband. So, and of course, where do they go? They go to libraries. Almost 100% of them go.
I think I just had lunch with the lieutenant governor. He was up here just recently, and we were talking about North Carolina's efforts to make sure that everyone, all young people especially, have access to broadband. There's a lot of great stuff going on, a lot of progress being made in our state that I'm really proud of. Something that we can kind of brag about in North Carolina. We are really working hard to make sure that people have that access. That's so vital. What's up, buddy?
I just want to say, I actually forgot to say this, but some of my best friends I've ever met came from the library.
Yeah?
I met them at story time before. When I was like 2 years old, and I still, even though I moved from Florida, I still keep in contact with them. I met them at the library.
That is really cool. That is really something. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's really neat.
Thanks so much for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate.
Let me tell you, this is much better than an empty office.
If I let me give you my spiel. So as a professor, I kind of let me speak to all three of the main type of libraries. So for school libraries, you may not be aware of this, but school libraries are really under fire in North Carolina, where education is starting to defund school libraries and focus more on instructional technology, which on one hand sounds like a great idea, but as you've heard here today, I think, and as a parent of three, it's all about literacy. And so one of the things that libraries do is it's multi-literacy. It's not just reading. Reading, absolutely. Once you read, the world's open to you, but you've got technology, you've got databases, you've got research, all the other literacies that people kind of... So, you know, I want to give a big shout out to school libraries because they are under attack. And principals, very often you hear principals say, we don't understand what libraries do. All we understand is books are going away, so we don't really need libraries anymore. And I think they're missing the deeper point, which is, you know, the old cliche or saying, if you teach them how to fish, they're good, right? And so literacy, reading, and more importantly, finding the books that actually interest people. See, people understand that school librarians, part of the big job is to find books that actually resonate with the students that go to that school, right? That's the big thing. And so once you find a book they like to read, then they read, right? And then,
one of the big draws for us, so I have Abigail is one of my 4 children, is being able to go to the Eva Perry Library, which is our local library, and the kids saying, I really like this book, what's another one like this? Because when they find like a series or an author, and they've read everything through that series and everything through that author, then somebody that knows, oh, if you like that, you'll like this, is huge, because when they're enjoying it, they're reading like crazy. And if they don't find something they enjoy reading, then it kind of tapers off.
Well, I remember when the Hunger Games were hot. Megan looked at me and said, "Okay, I'm 100th on the list. We're going to buy the collection." So we bought. Of course, that cost like $60, right? So, and then public libraries. So they're changing as well. As the state librarian said, it's in the video too. They're actually booming, right? So people thought that again, the information age would really hurt public libraries, but it's actually the reverse. Again, about 1/3 don't have access to broadband. But of course, again, the community space, civic space, and then of course the workforce development is huge, right? So a lot of people, we call it the digital divide, right? So they don't have the digital literacy, so they come in and use the free technology, and then of course the meeting space and all the other things, and employment, right? And then for academic libraries, again, there's a big misnomer. So as a faculty member, I go to our academic library at UNCG maybe once a year, maybe once every couple of years. But I use the databases all the time, right? So every research article I've ever published, every book that I've written, completely based on the quality of the databases that the library funds, and more importantly, the brilliant librarians pick out, so that when I'm going in my research area, I don't have to think about it. Because people mistake Google with, the bottom line is for research, you go to Google, you pull up an article, it's going to cost you $20.
That's exactly right.
Right? So then we find the article, then we go to our library database and grab it, right?
It's a huge public service. I went to Appalachian State University in the mountains, and you're talking about, Lincoln, you're talking about storytelling. I really love, like I said, I love storytelling. And so do people in the mountains. It's a huge part of North Carolina history. People would tell each other stories even before they had phones and books. It was the way that they communicated with each other, is they tell stories to one another. And one of the great things about Appalachian State, especially the library there, is they have now a whole database of people who are no longer even living telling their stories, recordings of them telling their stories. And that was what I studied when I was there. I was an anthropology major, and so I would study their stories, and I got to go to the library and hear these people talking to me, even though I wouldn't be able to hear them today. It's so important. And just to speak to what you were saying earlier about the importance of having these books and these series and everything, I think in school a lot we get assigned books, and you can probably resonate with this. You get assigned books to read, which are important. You really want to be able to read them, but the library makes the difference between just being assigned a book and learning from a book and snuggling up with a book and enjoying a book, you know, sitting down and reading something you enjoy. You know?
Yeah, that's the kind of experience that we had. We're natives from D.C. and so moving to North Carolina, and I grew up going to D.C. public schools, and Black history was one of the particular classes that we had, and so nowadays they don't even have that in school, which is shocking to us. But in North Carolina, they really don't have any thing in the public schools for that. So we started going to the library to find out books from Obama and Frederick Douglass and things like that that they don't have in the schools in North Carolina. So that was a good thing for us to be able to learn a little bit more about our culture. So that was our experience.
There's a great quote in the Library of Congress. In fact, my friend was here just this past weekend, and one of my favorite places to go is the Library of Congress just to show off all of them. And there's a great quote, and I probably I'll probably misquote it, but it says, books speak true when counselors blanch, I think is what it says. So basically, when people who are maybe politicians or people who are in charge don't necessarily tell the truth, books always tell the truth because they've been there for a long time. You can't make up what's already been written down. And that is so important, even when maybe we miss things in our own education system in North Carolina, like Black History Month or Black History, those books are always there. And that is vital to ensuring the education of our young people.
And one other kind of strange thing you don't think about with the library is, like, before we rode up here, we went to our library website and checked out books for the Kindle and put them on our Kindle for the bus ride on the way up here.
Very cool.
So, and that's a technology you may not think about the libraries having, but it was very cool instead of bringing a whole stack and be able to check them out from the library for 14 days and then somebody else will get them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we can tell you about North Carolina?
This has been great. And one thing that's going to be really important for the Congressman when I tell him about y'all's visit is that he know that you will stay in touch. And if there's anything, especially legislation or any kind of issue that you feel like we need to be made aware of, no matter how local or anything, please, please, please call us. Even if it's not in our district, the North Carolina delegation is very close. We have friends in all the other offices. It's very important to us that we are aware of anything that's going on, and sometimes it's difficult to know exactly what's going on everywhere. But